Hi, I'm Gerd Tundle, acclaimed health journalist, turned motivational speaker, and transformational coach. This show is for anyone who wants to lead a happier, healthier, and inspired life. Create more self-love, inject more joy and abundance into their daily life. Join me for inspiring interviews and spiritual topics so you can become a soul warrior. Hello and welcome to another episode of the Get Inspired with Gerds podcast. I'm your host, and today I have a special guest with me who's helping people to become balanced and love their body from within. Ellie is a certified yoga and meditation teacher and the founder of Senmo, a movement that uses sensuality, yoga, dance and meditation to help her clients to feel happier and healthier. She also hosts a podcast, the Ellie Hour, where she explores what it means to be human, and she understands what it takes to heal from the inside out. Ellie, it's an absolute pleasure having you on my show, and thank you for joining me.
Thank you so much for having me, Gerds. I so appreciate it.
Oh, thank you. Bless you. I love the fact that how we didn't really know each other and we found each other and just got talking, and it was just great to hear like the work that you do and how you're helping people.
Thanks. I mean, I think that's why we're here on this planet, right? We're here to help one another, to help ourselves. And when we help ourselves, we're helping other people. And when we help others, we help ourselves. So I feel like it's a big circular love fest of help. At least that's what I feel. I'm here on this planet.
Oh, and Mate, can you tell the listeners like what your life was like before you became a yoga and meditation teacher?
Yeah, totally. I love this question. Well, I became a yoga and meditation teacher, I guess like 7 or 8 years ago now. So, you know, this has definitely been my path for that long. But before that, I mean, I had my whole life before that, obviously. I grew up, I was born in New York, and then I grew up in Israel for a few years, 7 years exactly. And yeah, that's where my family spent a good amount of time. That's where a lot of my childhood was. And then we moved to St. Louis, Missouri. And then we spent another 7 years there. So I feel like life goes in sevens for me. It's pretty interesting. And then we moved to St. Louis, Missouri. And then and then I went to college, and so that's a little bit of where I've been in the world. And what was my life like before really doing yoga and meditation? Well, so I've always been a soul that's been very connected to her body in my childhood, right? Like I felt like I was always a really, really free child. I remember my mom putting on music and making up these epic dances and having these really epic dances with my girlfriends in middle school, and just finding such freedom in my body, such joy in my body. And and then I was always a performer too. So I always used my body for performance. I was a musical theater kid, and then I went to musical theater for my first year of college.
Wow.
And so there was always a connection with my body. But then at some point, it became about sort of how other people saw me than how I felt in my body. And that was the focus, right? I think when you're a performer, you're really worried about how other people are perceiving you. And so from middle school on, when I was a performer, singing a lot and doing a lot of theater, it really became about sort of that outward appearance of what people thought of me. And in college, that's when I really started looking at that and saying, this doesn't feel good, right? Like I feel like I'm almost performing in my life. And that's when sort of the veil started coming off. And that's when I coincidentally started practicing yoga and meditation pretty deeply. So I didn't love yoga right away, actually, which I think is the case for a lot of people. But I did start meditating in college too, and it was such a sanctuary because here I was in this new place where I felt really like out of sorts. People were drinking. I was never really into that. People were partying, and people were relating, but not in the way that I really loved to relate. I've always been someone that's intuitive. I've always been someone who likes to go deep, and I just felt really out of sorts and really disconnected. And really, I was feeling disconnected from myself. And so I went to my first meditation class, I guess about 8 or 9 years ago now. And I just sat down and I remember, oh my goodness, like here I am. Like I felt my body and I really reconnected with what I feel is just the truth of who I am. And that was really transformational because I started to see that I'm not my thoughts. I wasn't all the challenging feelings that I was experiencing at that time in college, but there's something deeper that's here that's sort of guiding the ship. And I started connecting with that part of me, right? This really essence, I think, that we're all operating from. And that was really, really powerful for me. So from then, I've really gone on really a spiritual journey of meditation and yoga and connecting with my body, which for me is a spiritual practice. I feel like when I'm connected with my body, when I'm feeling my body, when I'm free in my body, then I'm free in the rest of my life as well. So yeah, that's a little bit of that. And ever since then, I've really delved full head deep into this, and I'm just so unbelievably grateful because yeah, the challenges in life are big and they're huge. And part of what I really sank into in these teachings of yoga and meditation is that we don't actually have anything to hold on to. And to, as much as we want it to be the partner, as much as we want it to be our job or the podcast that we're creating or whatever it is, like all these things are so impermanent. And so if everything is so impermanent, then what can we hold on to? And the truth is nothing, right? There's nothing that we can actually hold on to. So how do we make that, and how do I make that, just asking the question together, my life practice, right? Where every day I'm showing up fully, where every day I'm trying to bring as much love, as much compassion, feeling, as much empathy into this world as possible, because that's what we really need, right? Like this world is hurting, and there's so much separation, and there's so much anxiety, and there's so much disconnection from ourselves, from each other, from the earth. And meditation and yoga, I feel like, really bring us back, right? Formally and first to our body. And when we connect with ourselves, and when we can really truly learn how to respect who we are and our boundaries and our bodies, then we can actually be in true relationship with other people. So
absolutely. I was just going to say that it's so true, like in this current situation that we're in at the moment, where the world is kind of, we don't know where we're heading with all this like hate and anger going on in the world, when really it should be all about compassion and love and accepting one another for who we are.
Totally. And love and compassion aren't always soft, right? I think that that's the thing that people sometimes mistake, because sometimes love and compassion are fierce. Sometimes we have to stand up and say, no, this is not okay, right? True. Where, if we see injustice in the world, or if we feel injustice towards ourselves in some way. And I think as a critique a little bit of how sort of the new age spirituality kind of operates under is that it's all love and compassion all the time. And yes, that can feel ooey gooey, but sometimes it's fierce. And sometimes we have to, it still can have empathy and compassion to it. Like, we don't have to let go of love, but the way that we sort of really stand up for what's right, does sometimes have that sort of fierce energy to it as well. And so we have to learn how to operate in all of our humanity and honor really all of the emotions that we have as human beings.
That's quite, yeah, actually I relate with that, what you're saying. That's so true. I guess if we don't stand up for what we believe in, then, and we're all about love, like you said, in that way, nothing would ever change.
Exactly, right? Like, really, if I look back at my life and I'm honest with myself, the times where true transformation has happened was when I've been like, all right, like, stand up, like, do this, right? Like, showing up every day and sitting on my meditation cushion. It's not always fun, right? I don't always want to do it, but I know ultimately that it's going to serve me in the long run if I continuously show up. So yeah, it can have sort of that like fierce energy to it that can also have love in it, right? Like it doesn't have to be one or the other.
Yeah. In regards to when you started meditating, would you say that as you started in the beginning journeys of meditation, that you started to understand your boundaries more and what you would accept and what you wouldn't accept?
Totally. Oh my gosh, yes. Yeah, well, when I really started to honor myself and truly enjoy myself and enjoy being with myself, then I really started realizing what outside influences maybe were taking advantage of me in subtle ways, or as an empath, right, as someone who is compassionate, as someone who is a caring human being, I think it's really easy for me, and I know for other people who are like me, to kind of just become washed out in the background, right? Like you said, people love to talk to you, people love to connect with you, right? It's just, there's a lot of us out there. But what ends up happening sometimes is like we get washed out in the background and people don't actually see that we're there, like literally, like they don't see you and they don't feel you and they don't hear you. And what ends up happening is I'm actually doing a disservice to them, right? If they totally lose connection to me, then they're totally in their own story and they're not actually relating with reality. So in the bigger picture, when I understand that I have to actually like really show up fully, then I'm doing everybody else a service because I'm allowing for them to show up fully. And so it's really, I think, about honoring myself and honoring all that I actually have to give to other people and how much love I have to give to other people, and really coming from that place. And when it comes from that place, then I feel really good, showing up fully. So I think boundaries really have to do with self-respect and really understanding how much you have to give. And just plainly, if something feels not good, and disrespectful in some way, just really seeing that and honoring that and not allowing someone to walk all over me in some way, which doesn't happen a lot, but I think it can happen even in subtle ways with people who we've been in relationship with for a really long time.
Yeah.
Because we kind of cultivate a sort of dynamic in the relationship. And I think that's what's hard sometimes too, is relationships you've been in a really long time. And then suddenly when you start to own more of your power and you start to have more self-respect with your time and your energy and really what you have to give to the world, then sometimes those relationships shift a bit, which is not fun. But if they're really meant to be in your life, then they'll grow with you and they'll respect you for that.
Absolutely. And guys listening out there, it's all about just listening to your intuition, and if that person's not supposed to be in your life, see them as a blessing or a lesson that you have to learn, or to make sure that when you go into another relationship or you're just on your journey, that you know where your boundaries are.
Totally, yeah. I've been really, really digging the boundaries conversation lately, and I've just been doing a lot of research on it myself. And the thing is, especially when we're starting new relationships, it starts so quickly, right? Like dynamics start to form so quickly. And we can either fall asleep, or we can choose to wake up and really be conscious of the dynamics that we're starting to create. Because really every relationship is an opportunity to be who we really are and to be fully who we really are.
Yeah.
But we have to do that work, right? And actually it feels much better to be free. Like, it feels so much better to be my authentic self in relationships. I think about this in terms of family, because family's known you for a really long time. And I love my family so much. And I feel like there's habits, obviously, that have been created for my whole life and how I relate with my family. And so sometimes I feel like my friends, and people who've come into my life the past few years almost know me, not in a truer light, but just in a different way, because they really understand sort of this passion, this overwhelming truth that I feel I'm now truly living in the past few years.
Yeah.
But also, family is really beautiful and dynamic, but I think sometimes the challenge that I find is, how do I kind of bring in all that I've learned and everything I've discovered the past few years to the relationships, to my family, and how I operate with them as well.
Absolutely. I think as well, it's a difficult one when it comes to family, because obviously you're not going to say goodbye to your family. It's that they see you as who you were before, and those are the old habits that you have. And sometimes family find it very difficult to realise that you've changed and you've got newer habits that work better for your soul and your purpose and your mission, and they just can't relate with that sometimes.
Exactly. And they've changed and they've evolved. And so how do we meet each other in a way where we're both honoring our past and our history and obviously my whole life, right? And, growing up. And how do we then meet each other in a new, fresh way? And I think that's the reason why relationships get stagnant. That's the reason why relationships fall apart, is that we're not willing to truly see each other for who we really are today, right? Which is different than who someone was yesterday, right? Like, truly meeting each other in a new, fresh way every single day, right? And that's what, to me, is my goal, right, with relationships in general, is just to meet people in a new, fresh way every time I connect with them. Obviously, I don't do this every time, but that's my intention, is to truly meet people in a fresh way every time I connect with them.
I really like that. My dear, so you're now the founder of Senmo. Can you tell us more about this?
Oh, yes. Thank you for asking.
I just love the name.
Thank you. Yeah. So Senmo, which stands for Sensual Movement for the Modern Woman. Senmo is a creation that I started a few years ago. A few years ago. And it really came for a love of understanding and feeling this within myself, that my sensuality and my body, and really finding freedom and expression there, directly relates to how free I feel in my relationships and in my life. And as women, I think we're constantly taught to be smaller, be bigger, look like this, look like that, get liposuction, shave off, 30 pounds, like whatever it is, we're constantly taught, and just as human beings in general, that we're not enough. We're constantly taught that there's something wrong with us, right? The whole marketing industry is constantly feeding us more and more things that we need in order to be whole. And the truth is, we're whole and complete as we are. And so I think that relationship and that idea really relates to Senmo, because your body and my body, female bodies are just beautiful and unique. Like, we are freaking works of art. And, I mean, it's no wonder that women have been painted over the ages, and, just our natural curves and our breasts and our ass, like, in whatever size and shape you are, and your unique beauty, and really celebrating that, right? So that's really what Senmo is about. So it's about that, and it's also about mindfulness of body, right? So when you're mindful of something, you're feeling it, you're connecting with it. So it's really about connecting with this physical body right now. So for the listeners right now that are listening, just put your hand on your heart, put your hand on your belly, and just take a moment and actually feel like, oh my God, I'm in a human body. Like, I'm in a body right now. This is an amazing machine that's constantly loving us, that's constantly giving us support and doing the body does absolutely everything it can to just love us so fully and so fiercely. I mean, our immune systems are amazing. Our hearts are beating right now in this moment. Your lungs are breathing. Like, the body is a miracle. And so really appreciating the body in all its forms, loving the body, and finding that expression through dance and through movement. So there's 3 elements in Senmo that I teach in every single class. And the first is meditation. And it's to simply feel, just to feel the body, to connect with the body as it is. A lot of times women come to Senmo and they're like, they're not in the right state of mind, maybe, they're either stressed or, they're coming from the hardships of life. Like, life is challenging, right? So when they come to Senmo, it's really firstly just about connecting, just feeling, and just having that moment of just inner connection and just relaxing for a little bit. So that's the first element, and just allowing for whatever it is that they brought into the room that day, just to be there and to honor it and to love it. And so that's the first element, is we meditate, and then we start to do sort of like yogic exercises. And I pole danced for a few years, which I really enjoyed. Not professionally at a club, although that's great too. Just at a pole dancing studio, which I really loved. And so then I bring in sort of that sensuality into the practice. So it's kind of a mixture between yoga and pole dancing techniques, like floor movements. So there's a lot of hip circles and undulations, and really starting to wake up that just juicy sensuality and sexuality that exists within every single woman. Because, again, I truly believe that when a part of women, right, and a part of who we are and our humanity is suppressed, then we can't be as fully expressive. So a lot of times I think that what happens with sexuality is, and with sensuality and just connecting with our bodies ourselves, a lot of women are only connected to their bodies when they're having sex with somebody, right? Or when they're like intimate with somebody. That's when they actually start to fully, like, oh my God, feel like, oh, I'm in a feminine body right now. But my whole, right? Like, oh, I have boobs because he just saw he just commented on how lovely they are. But we can do that for ourselves, and we can love our own bodies. And ultimately, if we're relying on somebody else to create that sensation within us, then we're giving our power away. Absolutely. Not that I don't love intimacy and I don't love relationship and I don't love connection, because I so do, but it's limited, right? Yeah. Because we're relying on another person. So really, Senmo is about waking that sensuality up, waking up that sexuality in a safe space, right? We're all there for the same reason. We're all there to move and connect. So that's the first element, is to feel, meditate, and then we go into these yogic exercises where we feel and move our body, and then we do like a dance routine, and we have free dances, and we have an opportunity to just let go and have fun, and we have all different types of music. Like slow and like just fluid and delicious, to like the more poppy, like gangster. Like there's just like, we go like all over the place with music, because music is such, to me, an expression of life. Yeah. And so we allow the music to course through our veins, and so then we move. So we feel, and then we connect with ourselves, right, and with each other, and then we just allow ourselves to be. We just allow ourselves to let go, and it's really, really, really fun. And almost every single Sunmo class, a woman has some sort of major insight. There's pretty much there's always tears, or there's some like huge revelation that women that women that come have, because we don't often go into places where we can truly feel free in our bodies. And so it's just such an honor for me to do this work and to really see how this affects women of all ages, right? Like, I have women in their early 20s, and I have women in their 70s that come. And it's just right, and it's just so incredible to see, like, the different shapes and the different body types, and just this unique beauty that each woman has. And if you're doubting in yourself right now and you're listening to this podcast, you have it too. Whether you're a woman or a man, you have it, or anything in between, you have it in you. And so I think Sunmo is really a place to kind of really open up that ability to be seen and to feel yourself and to see yourself. So both elements happen, and that's kind of the magic in it, because we see each other, and there's options to sort of like perform for one another, and there's an option to just let go and just to be and to feel yourself. So that's what I love so much about it.
I love it. Just listening to everything that you were saying, it took me back actually. When I was younger, I was a trained gymnast for about 9 years of my life, and when I was doing that, I felt so free. I felt liberated, and then I used to love dancing all the time. And when I stopped doing all of that, when I went to university, I suddenly had those like low moments and like doubting myself. And it's so true why we need to connect to our body, because it allows us to just be free and let go of whatever worries or tension that we have. And just like you said, it's embracing yourself, isn't it?
Oh, yeah. I mean, I think part of the disconnect in our culture, and part of why so many people are sick, and there's so much obesity, and there's really just like a health crisis for a lot of people, is because of this disconnection from our body. And like you said, if we listen to our body is constantly giving us information. It's constantly talking to you. It's constantly giving you messages. It's constantly loving you. It's a relationship, right? It's a relationship like you would have a relationship with anything else in your life. And yet, so often we neglect our body until it's screaming, until it's saying, like, listen to me, like, until we get the disease, or until we get, something serious happen, versus having it be a relationship that we wake up to every single day, because our body houses our life. Our body houses our experiences, and we get to live life through this body. So why not honor it and love it and understand it, right? Because it is such a mystery at the same time, right? I don't understand how my heart is beating right now. It's just beating, right? And I don't understand how my blood is coursing, and the nutrients that I just had in lunch are like somehow miraculously moving into the rest of my body. Like, that's a miracle. That's an absolute miracle. And to really honor that miracle in ourselves, I think, is really the first and foremost thing that we're not often taught about our health.
True.
But is so critical to our overall well-being.
Absolutely. Yeah. For anyone who's listening out there, say they really want to start yoga, what are your 5 top tips for them, but they don't really know where to start?
Totally. And this is really with like meditation too, or with Sunmo, or whatever practice. So go ahead and like put into Google. There's this amazing thing called Google, right? And I definitely recommend. There's been an influx of online yoga stuff, which is fine. That's beautiful, and I'm so glad that that's reaching a lot of people. And I recommend for people to go to a physical class. So actually go to a studio, put in Google studios near your home, whatever's convenient for you, or wherever you're, if you're leaving work and you think you're going to go after work, do it near your work, but find a beginner's class and make sure that it's beginners, right? It'll be called foundations or beginners. And find that, right? And I personally think that, there's been an influx too of like the hot power yoga and like the, rocket, like there's like a lot of like yoga that's like, woohoo! But I think just starting with a very simple like hatha class. Hatha is like the most basic type of yoga. So find a beginner's hatha yoga class. Near you, and look up reviews of teachers in that studio, right? Like ask like who like what teachers are most popular and what teachers are really good at teaching beginners. So once you look up like talk to people, call people and talk to the studio. People are happy to respond, and even if they don't have or even go to the studio, right? Go to the studio and ask these questions, and then you can see like, oh, do I like the vibe of this place? And then so start a beginner's class, and then I would, ask what teachers are good. And then I would say, don't judge it after the first time. Like so many people go to a yoga class and they're not that good at it right away. And for some reason in yoga and meditation, I think more so than other things, people judge it so quickly because they're expecting such an instant high, right? And such an instant gratification because that's the society we live in. So don't judge it from your first class. Like go to 2 or 3 classes and try it out. And, if you don't like the teacher, then try another teacher. And consistently stick to it, right? Like, get a beginner's pass. A lot of times, a lot of studios will have like a 30-day special or whatever, and go like 4 or 5 times before you really make the judgment call and give it a chance. Because oftentimes when we haven't really moved our bodies a lot, or again, when we're trying something new, it just feels new. So just consistently try it. And the last thing I would say is just give yourself a break. Like don't expect so much of yourself right away. If you're starting a new language, if you're starting German, you wouldn't expect yourself to learn German in like 5 classes. And yet, again, that's what we do with a lot of these practices. So just give yourself a break, be gentle with yourself. If you're not good at it right away, okay, just keep going, just try it. And if you really don't like it after like really giving it a shot, and you'll know when you've actually given it a shot versus been like, I'm just gonna do it once. No, like when you've actually given it a shot and you really don't like it, cool. There's so many other movement practices that exist out there that could be good for you. But the benefits of yoga are just so extensive, and the research that's consistently comes out and how amazing the benefits are extensive. So try it out and good luck. And let me know if I can help you in any way, because I'm here.
I love those tips. And where can my listeners find you?
Yeah, so you can find me on my own podcast, the Ellie Aaron Hour. I have my own podcast on iTunes, and it's great. We talk about a lot of what we talked about today: spirituality. We talk about positive psychology and psychology. Buddhism's a big theme. Sexuality. What it's like to be a human being on this planet, right? Really embracing all our shades and colors. So find me there. You can find me on iTunes, the Ellie Aaron Hour, or my website, ellieaaron.com, or you can add me on Facebook. I'm super Facebook friendly. Gerds, that's how you reached out to me. So I would love to connect with any of you. And if something resonated, I'm so glad, and I'm just so grateful to you, Gerds, for inviting me. This was so much fun.
Oh, bless you. I've just loved talking to you, and just like your story and everything, and just what you're saying is so true. It's just about connecting to your body and connecting oneself, and I love it.
Thank you.
My dear, we are coming towards the end of the show. It's gone so quickly. My last question is, what are you most grateful for?
Oh my God. That's such a good question. I am grateful for the opportunity to be alive. I know that that's like huge. That's a huge thing. Yeah, I'm just really, really grateful I get to live this life and this incarnation, because I could have very well not been born, right? So the fact that I'm here and I'm living in a human body and I get to have these human experiences, yeah, I'm just really, really grateful. One of my main spiritual practices that I just do daily is I just look up. I look up at the stars. I look up at the moon. I constantly am reminding myself that I'm on a planet and I'm so small, and I'm just one human being on like a planet that's floating in space. Like right now in this moment, like we're all just human beings floating in space in a galaxy. I mean, that blows my mind. And at the same time, I can use my life to make a profound difference. And I know that I can help people. And so really finding that duality of I'm so small and I'm just one human being in the cosmos, and I can make a big difference. I think when we can hold that duality in our heart, then so much goodness can come from that.
I love that. That was just so beautiful. Wow. Ellie, it's been an absolute pleasure on the show, and just thank you for sharing your story, and that I loved your gratitude, like what you're grateful for. That was just so touching, and we'll definitely have to get you on the show again.
I am so down to do these anytime. This was so much fun. Thank you so much for having me. And thank you to your listeners. Thanks everybody for listening. Much appreciation to you.
What a great interview with Ellie. Guys, do check out her website, and just if there's something that resonates with you, definitely get in contact with her. Unfortunately, that's the end of the show. Don't forget you can find me on Twitter at IamGurds, that's GURDS. You can find me on Facebook at Get Inspired with Gurds, where I bring you lots of inspirational, motivational quotes and tips about life. And also check out my book on Amazon called Educo, that's EDUCO, and it's 52 quotes for leading a better life. This week I want to leave you with this quote: what we think, we become. That's a quote by Buddha. Take care, and I'll see you next week. Bye!